Hey guys, it's McGann, and I'm here today to kind of clarify a Coraline question that I see a lot. Sometimes my theories go a little bit of, well, all over the place, and so things aren't crystal clear. And the question that I'm seeing over and over again is that if Coraline never goes home and she just goes to the Limbo Pink Palace after she enters the other world, why doesn't the Beldam just keep her up there? Why the back and forth and all the scare tactics? And this is a valid question. I just feel like I understand the answer, so maybe I'm not explaining it well enough to everyone else. But the other world had to be appealing enough to get Coraline to go through the door. The mystery was there to drag her into it. And Coraline had to be wowed once she got there, or else she would have turned around and run away. A big issue I have, though, is that Coraline goes to sleep in the other world and supposedly wakes up in her bed in the real world. Now, for me, the idea that the bed is a portal to the real world just doesn't work. It makes more sense that Coraline was transported to another portion of the other world, a place that looks just like the real world, except it's not. I call this the Pink Palace Limbo, or Limbo Pink Palace. Now, if you've seen my other Coraline theories, you're already aware of this, but I know from experience now that a lot of people don't watch my past videos. So, in a nutshell, when Coraline first enters the other world, I believe that she goes into a section of the other world that I call the Beldam's lair. It's the only part of the other world that connects to the real world. If it helps, think of the Beldam's lair as walking into Target. When you walk inside, there's an entryway with another set of doors that you have to pass through first. If you want back out as a customer, you have to go back through the entryway to get outside. And because the Beldam can build the other world around her whims, that means that the tunnel to the real world doesn't have to stay in the same place. And that explains why the tunnel changes so much during the movie. Now, the second level of the other world is the Pink Palace Limbo. I've gone back and forth with this idea. Either the Beldam is constantly creating what the Limbo world looks like, or the Limbo uses the real world as a model, meaning the Beldam has a way to separate people in the Limbo world from the real world, like in a very Silent Hill type manner. So Coraline might be sitting there in her real house, she might go to school or on vacation, but she doesn't actually see anyone from the real world or vice versa. And the people that Coraline believes are her friends, neighbors, family, they're all actually the Beldam and her puppets. Hold on, I made a really cool visual aid that might make more sense in explaining this theory. Let's pretend Kyrie here is Coraline for a minute, and she's gonna go up the ladder, which is the portal to the other world. And while she's there, she's playing around in the Beldam's lair of the other world, and eventually she thinks she's gonna go home, but instead she gets confused and ends up going a different direction that she doesn't realize, and she gets trapped up here in the Limbo Pink Palace. Now, unfortunately, when Coraline enters up in this second section here, the Limbo Pink Palace, she locks the door behind her and throws away the key. So now Coraline is completely stuck up there. As you can see, this unfinished playset has no ladders and no way back out. So once you block off your exit to get back to the Beldam's lair, there's no way out of the other world because the Beldam's lair is the only place with the exit. So even though Coraline here might be able to see parts of the real world, which is arguable whether or not she cannot access it because she has trapped herself up there. Now, that wasn't the entire theory. I have looked at this from a lot of angles, so if you're totally lost or seeing a lot of problems with what I'm saying, all I can do is recommend watching my other Coraline theories where I go over a lot of different ideas that do work together. But now that you sort of know where I'm coming from, people want to know why the Beldam doesn't just leave Coraline trapped in the Limbo Pink Palace from day one. Why drag her back and forth and scare her? Like I said earlier, the Beldam needs Coraline to enter the other world and get very comfortable, enough to fall asleep there. The problem, though, is that the other world was too appealing, so Coraline was immediately trying to get back there, which is a problem for the other mother. Coraline is a smart girl. Eventually, she would get desensitized to her magical surroundings and notice all the red flags. And I think that's why the Beldam is always ushering her off to a new area. First it was the dining room, then the garden, then the mouse circus, and the theater. The Beldam never lets Coraline Coraline stay in the same place for long so that Coraline never has time to start noticing problems or asking questions, because she's always in awe of the new thing that's in front of her. That's kind of why we theorists watch movies 5, 10, 20 times, because when you first see a movie, you're really along for the ride and you're engaged in the story, and you don't notice any problems necessarily right away. But after the Beldam had shown Coraline all the areas of the house, that's when she gave Coraline the button eye offer, because Coraline had seen almost everything there was to see in the Beldam's lair. It's not that large of a space. It's almost like the Beldam's personal house. So to stay in the lair, Coraline needed to have buttons put in to be blinded so she couldn't get wise to the trap. And even if she did, she'd be blind with buttons in her eyes and wouldn't know how to get away. So the more Coraline enters the Beldam's lair with her birth eyes, the greater her odds are of putting pieces together and escaping for real. When Coraline rejects the buttons, the Beldam knew that her trap was in danger, and you can see that the Beldam starts changing her personality after that rejection. The other mother now had to go with a scare tactic plan, because if Coraline really had a choice, the Beldam wouldn't get upset. She'd keep trying to win Coraline over with kindness so that she'd willingly come to the other world again. The Beldam had been waiting roughly 50 years for her next victim, so I don't believe that she was about to die or had any other reason to flip her evil switch and not play the long game here. But since Coraline rejected plan A to get the buttons in her eyes, plan B was to make sure that Coraline sealed herself inside of the Pink Palace Limbo world, which meant that the Beldam had to frighten Coraline so badly that she would never open the little door again. And Coraline had to be convinced to throw the key away before Coraline had any time to discover that she wasn't in the real world. When we see the other world turn white and fall apart, that was for the sake of making Coraline think the place was gone. When the Beldam screeched out that she'd die without her, that was to make Coraline believe that the Beldam was no longer a threat. And as long as Coraline feels happy, safe, and secure in the Limbo Pink Palace, she's not going to question anything, and she'll never realize that she's trapped. But if she does, Coraline doesn't have a way out. Yeah, I might be overthinking it, but that is literally my job. Hey guys, real quick, I want to let you know about tblocks.com, a monthly subscription mystery shirt service that really works to custom tailor itself around your preferences. Please check them out, their rates are really reasonable, and use code FangirlTBX to get an additional 10% off your order. Well, that's all I have for now, but this video's not quite over yet. I get a lot of comments that say, do a theory on this topic, but I've already done those theories, so please consider going to my main channel page and clicking on the video tab so that way you can see everything I've done. You will probably find a lot of things you like that you never even knew that I posted. I want to let you know that I also have 2 other channels, Say Halo Goodbye Gaming and the Fanily Family Vlogs. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed enough to hit subscribe and share. I can use all the help I can get to let other people know that this channel exists. And if you made it this far, leave me a comment that says something like, hey, I made it to the end, and then let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the future. I can't make any promises, but the more people that request something, the more I can look into it. Okay, well, I love you. I'll see you in the next video.